Hello, this is DrPaulCottrell, and I'm doing a video on the monkey escape from South Carolina. I'm going to be doing a series of different videos today. Some of them are going to be long form, some of them are going to be short form. There's also a Fed announcement that's going on today, so one of the videos is going to be about economics. But what I want to do is go over what my perspective is on the monkey escape. All right. This happened on November 6th in South Carolina. For the ones that don't know, because I do have an international audience, November 5th was when we had our election. So I find it very odd that we are seeing some sort of 43 monkeys escaping from a research lab in South Carolina the day after the election. I find that odd. Now, at the surface, the way it's being published in the media, and we'll go over some of the news, covering this, but you'll see what I'm talking about. They are saying not to worry because these animals are not pathogenic. All right, that they don't have any disease. Now, it's important to understand the laboratory and what it does. So this laboratory, I think it's called Alpha Genesis, but the laboratory, basically what they do is raise animals, raise primates that are in a non-disease setting. So, and then you sell those to research labs to create some sort of testing. So if you're testing something on a primate, you need controls where the animals are not diseased. And then you have to administer a disease to another cohort group for these primates, and then maybe a treatment leg. So you have a control leg, and then you have, a disease leg, and then, non-treatment, and then a disease leg that is treatment non-disease, and then another one that is treatment diseased. So you have like 4 different cohorts. But the starting point is a non-diseased primate. All right. They also sell certain types of tissues. I'm not sure if it's pathogenic, though, to research labs that are of primate material, serum, different tissues. So that's the cover story. Or I wouldn't say the cover story. That's the story that is being promulgated in the media, that these animals are supposedly were raised in a non-pathogenic environment to be sold to research facilities to do these tests, these different tests. So it always starts with a non-diseased animal. The question comes in, and only people in Alpha Genesis would know what sort of things are going on from a pathogenic point of view with primate material that they sell. So they sell the animals live, but they also sell tissues. Well, are those tissues pathogenic or not? So we don't know really what's really going on. But at least at the surface level, Alpha Genesis, that's the name of the company, I believe it is. If we take them for their word, then the animals that were released were in a very clean, kind of clean environment where they don't have pathogens. But that's what they're saying, at the surface level. Who knows what's going on in reality? Who knows? We don't know. All right. What I do find odd is that when the CDC says the communities that these animals, these monkeys, were released in by accident, maybe on purpose, the cover story is that it was a new person cleaning the environment, and they left the door open and all the monkeys went out. The 43 monkeys. I've heard 2 different stories. I've heard one story that was 40 monkeys and another story that was 43 monkeys. So is it one release or multiple release? Who knows? But probably one release. The cover story is that, well, it was just a new caregiver for the animals. they didn't lock the gate correctly or kept it open, and the monkeys went out. What I'm surprised at is that there's not some sort of redundancy in the cage setup where it prevents a leak like this. So you leave one door open, and then all of a sudden, all the monkeys come out. Why wasn't there a secondary or tertiary containment zone to prevent a mistake like this from happening? So, but what I find odd is that the CDC said the community stay away from the animals. Why? If they're not pathogenic and they're nice and cuddly, and they they may be afraid or maybe hungry, but why do you need to stay away from the animals if they're not pathogenic? So I don't believe the fucking story. I don't believe until proven otherwise that those animals are not pathogenic. You err on the side of, when something like this happens, the day right after the election, 43 animals leave a major primate research facility in South Carolina, and you err on the side of caution, especially when the CDC is saying, oh, stay away from the animals. Make sure you lock your doors and don't be in contact with the animals and you'll be okay. Well, if they're non-pathogenic, why are you worrying about it? Something's not right. Something seems fishy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play what the news is saying about this incident and give you my perspective on it. All right. Now, my gut feeling is, because there aren't coincidences when it comes to the deep state trying to overthrow Trump and all that stuff. I know it sounds conspiratorial and all this stuff, but there's too many things going on where you're hearing in the news that dairy farmers have a higher incidence of actually contracting the highly pathogenic H5N1 now, but asymptomatic. All right, that's being promulgated in the news now. All right, just recently, a study was released where the dairy farmers didn't even know they were sick, so it was asymptomatic. So they have antibodies to the highly pathogenic H5N1 and didn't even know that they contracted it. So, but it seems as though it's still not human-to-human transmission. But I'm seeing a couple data points that are popping up here, and those data points are Trump won, monkeys get released the day after. So are we having 12 monkeys? Are we living in a kind of like a disease X kind of environment? And then the elevated risk of highly pathogenic H5N1 in the United States. And if you listen to the news, or if you watch some of the news that's just coming out recently, like within the last 24 or 48 hours, Europe is starting to get worried about highly pathogenic H5N1. So are we seeing elevated risks of disease X? Now, I'm not trying to cause, or create some sort of panic, but something doesn't make sense. Something doesn't fucking make sense. What the hell is going on? Now, I'm going to need help from people that are, kind of like sleuths, and scour the internet, for information. But I'd like to understand what the hell is going on with these monkeys. And the scientific community needs to step up to the plate and start telling the public at large what the fuck is going on in these goddamn labs. This is what I'm talking about, with gain-of-function research that can get leaked out, even by accident, that can cause a catastrophic high-impact event. Then you add in a deep state that wants to kind of make it happen. Now, is this an accident? I don't know. It might be. Are those animals pathogenic or not? We don't know. We're told that they're not. But why is the CDC saying stay away from the animals? Well, maybe they are pathogenic then. All right. All right. This is CBS talking about this issue 12 hours ago. Is it playing? Hold on. Technical difficulty here. Hold on.
value of this? You don't have police and.
All right, hold on. Let me get this on the speaker here.
In South Carolina's Low Country are asking people to keep their doors and windows locked. Workers are laying traps to catch dozens of monkeys that escaped from a research facility last night. CBS News spoke with the company's CEO, Dave Malkoff, reports.
The 43 rhesus macaques made a break for it on Wednesday, escaping from the Alpha Genesis Primate Research Center in Genesee, South Carolina.
The caretaker was doing her normal routine. She failed to secure the doors, and the monkeys basically just bolted through the opening.
Door. Okay, here's the key. Doors, plural. So it sounds like there were a secondary and tertiary containment system. How could you screw up 2 or 3 times? I don't believe the story. I don't believe the story.
And they travel in groups. So when the first couple go out the door, the others tend to just follow right along.
So the reason why they got out was literally monkey see, monkey do.
Absolutely.
President and CEO Greg Westergaard says the monkeys, which are used for vaccine development, are hanging out in the woods near the facility.
Now, remember what I said earlier in this video. They make these, they care for these monkeys. They breed these monkeys supposedly in a clean environment, a sterile environment, so they don't have any disease. So then they sell them to research labs that will do tests, right? Such as vaccines, all right? So these monkeys were going to be, there were going to be a cohort group that was going to be a control, non-disease, non-treated, right? And then you have another group that is, that you put a disease in them, but don't treat them. And then you have another group that is diseased and, you treat. And you can have some other arms of cohorts where you have different, you vaccinate, no disease, you have disease, and you vaccinate, give the disease, and then see if they can contract it. So you have like maybe 8 different cohorts here, all right? But it starts with an animal that isn't pathogenic, that there's no disease in the animal. But it doesn't take much to put a disease in, right? It's literally just give them a shot or have them breathe something or eat something. All right, it's that easy. Eat something, breathe something, inject something, and you can put a disease in an animal. So no one really knows if those animals weren't tampered with. If everything was above board and it was just a stupid caretaker for the animals and they left the doors open, plural, chances are they're non-pathogenic. My concern is why the CDC is saying stay away from the animals, all right? Because maybe they are pathogenic. The next thing is that, are all of those animals in that research facility non-pathogenic? Or do they prep the animal for some sort of pathogenic model and then sell it to the labs? I don't know. And then the other question is, maybe everyone that was on the staff was trying to do the right thing and they're raising non-pathogenic animals, non-pathogenic primates, but was it infiltrated by someone or a group that decided to give these animals something and somehow, some way, they let them out? So maybe the company wasn't doing anything wrong, but someone infiltrated the company and gave the animals something that has some sort of pathogenic thing with them. Who knows? Who knows? The only way to do it is someone independent capturing one of these animals and getting blood serum samples from it and doing tests on it. That's the only way to find out. You have the government pick up the animals. You'll never know. They'll just, whatever story they tell the news media, they'll just promulgate through social media and the mainstream media. The government's not going to tell you that someone nefariously put something in these animals. They won't even tell you if the company was supposed to be putting some sort of pathogen in these animals and it just leaked out by accident. Who knows? The only way to really know is get the fucking samples from the blood.
A bystander says he saw the escape, although the video he recorded could not be verified by CBS News.
I think they're having an adventure.
The future
Yeah, they're having an
primates
adventure,
are
all right.
described as cat-sized adolescent females. I met a similar species on assignment in Sri Lanka. In a statement to CBS News, the CDC said the monkeys pose no threat to public health as long as people do not come in contact with them.
Hoping for a happy ending. That's the number one important thing.
But they're supposed to be non-pathogenic. They're nice, cuddly little animals. Why is the CDC saying that you don't have to worry about anything as long as you don't come in contact with it? We're told that alphagenesis makes they raise non-pathogenic primates to sell to laboratories to do vaccine research. And again, like I said, you got to start with a non-pathogenic sample and then create your testing cohorts, induce the disease or induce just a treatment cohort group arm or both, and see if the treatment works. See if the disease is prevented. Like, for example, with the vaccine testing, you have a group that is non-disease, non-vaccinated. You have another group, non-disease, vaccinated. You have another group that is diseased and then vaccinated. And then another group where they've been vaccinated, some time passes for them to build up antibodies, and then you induce a disease to see if the vaccine worked. And you analyze through samples, statistics and all this to see if things were working. That's their business model. That's what alphagenesis does. They raise animals that are in a sterile environment where they're non-diseased. But they also sell product of primate material, tissues, serum, and all this stuff. I'm not so sure that material is totally non-pathogenic. It may be. I don't know what else they do in their laboratory. And who knows if someone nefariously broke in and decided to, inject something in these animals. No one knows. If it was that easy for the animals to get out, isn't it that easy for humans to get in? I don't believe the story. I don't think that.
Dave Malkoff, CBS News, Atlanta.
All right. Okay. So that's what CBS is saying. All right. 8 hours ago, what WCNC is saying. So this is local news.
Being a lawyer, I was somewhat skeptical. Generative AI had sort of just hit the news as being a big deal.
Well, developing tonight, more than 40 monkeys are still missing in South Carolina. Yeah, they escaped from a research lab in the Low Country. This has made news headlines pretty much everywhere across the country as the search continues tonight. I've seen it all over X, almost every social media site. WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kay is here with the latest on the investigation. Wild stuff and a reaction from
I'll tell you,
exotic
because I'm Gen X, people, if you're Gen X, then you'll understand what I'm saying. This sounds just like 12 Monkeys. Just like 12 Monkeys in the movie.
Expert here, Julie.
Yeah, the police have teamed up with the research lab. The latest update came about 10 hours ago. At that point, the lab had eyes on the monkeys and were trying to lure them back with food. They've also set up traps and are using thermal imaging cameras to watch them. But the big message for everyone, if you see a monkey, do not approach it. This facility in Yemassee, South Carolina is home.
Why? They're hungry. Isn't it really easy for you to start feeding them? They stay in your backyard or whatever. They may even tell their family members, come on over. There's free cheese. And then you call the health department to be able to corral them and get them back to the facility. Why are they saying stay away from the animals? Is that a data point that they're pathogenic? Maybe. I don't believe the story on what's going on at that laboratory. I think that there's I believe that there are elements of pathogenic animals in that laboratory. I don't believe everything is sterile.
Research lab, Alpha Genesis, and self-described primate research specialists. But exotic animal expert DrPaulCottrell
He just bit me.
isn't so convinced.
You know, you lose 43 monkeys, something's going wrong.
Fuck
Colea
yeah.
takes in exotic rescues at her home in Concord.
Noodles is very active right now.
And when she heard the news, she was worried.
When a research facility can't keep a hold of animals that are potentially dangerous, that's a problem.
Officers confirmed a new employee at Alpha Genesis did not fully close the gate, letting dozens of primates get out.
Despite the work they do there, these animals are not infected with anything. They're healthy. They're skittish.
Yemassee police released a statement saying the monkeys.
Why the CDC is saying stay away from the animals, if that's the case? Why? Because maybe the CDC knows something.
Not been used for testing and are too young to carry diseases. But because these animals are so humanized, Kalea says people should be even more careful.
They know that they get fed by people at certain times of the day and all, so they're going to be more aggressive towards a person.
Something she's seen firsthand after a primate she rescued attacked her earlier in her career.
I humanized him.
All right.
I let him do.
I'll let her talk, but the thing is that maybe the company was doing everything right in terms of raising these primates in a sterile environment, and they're and they think they're non-pathogenic. How do you know that someone didn't infiltrate and cause disease in these animals? I don't believe the story that some newbie didn't close multiple doors to let the animals escape. The animals can escape that easily? How can that be? And then it's at day after the election? And then this is the reason why it's so important to do metadata analysis, because it's not just this issue. This is on the heels of research studies being published now on how pathogenic H5N1 is with dairy farmers. There's a lot of asymptomatic. So there were more dairy farmers that actually were exposed. How do they know that? When they test their blood, they have the antibody. So that means that they contracted it, but they didn't show any signs of sickness or conjunctivitis, which is the biggest sign. That's the most common sign. So some sort of irritation of the eye. But what's going on here? What's going on here? And then the reports that are going on with H5N1 in Europe, and they're concerned. Now, I'm not saying that they are 100% related, but it seems like there seems to be a forced effort to try to start some sort of pathogenic fire. Maybe through bird flu, maybe through whatever these monkeys are pumped up with. Who knows? Maybe it's monkeypox for all we know. I doubt it. But the point is that we're being told that they're clean, they're non-pathogenic, but stay away from them so you don't contract anything. That doesn't square well, CDC. That doesn't make sense.
I wanted to, and it was my fault.
Both Kolea and police agree.
Do not leave dog doors open.
Your doors and windows secured.
Secure your space until the primates are secure in theirs. And this has happened before. In 2016, 19 monkeys escaped from that same facility. They returned about 6 hours later. Colin, back to you.
Well, it's been more than 6 hours, and there were 19 monkeys back in 2016. Something is up. This is why I keep on saying the biolabs There needs to be more regulation. And, I'm totally against gain of function research, totally against it. Because they're making things that are so supercharged that the chances of them that naturally happening in nature is so remote that why do it? But when you do it in the lab, you're increasing the chances of the leak or being used as some sort of bioweapon. This gain of function research that's taking place is not benign. It supercharges these pathogens. So there's so many mutations that take place. The chances of this happening in a natural environment is so remote. It could happen, but it's so remote. And what happens is that big pharma loves it. Oh, we've found a particular pathway that makes this thing much worse, and so we got to have all these treatments and all these vaccines and all this blah blah blah, just in case. And then all of a sudden, the laboratory, causes a leak, and then every the whole world is up in fire. Stop doing the gain of function research, especially the supercharged stuff. Crazy. I don't trust this story. I don't believe it's just a coincidence that this happened the day after the election. All right, this is another local news. This is
Look, nobody has more beef on the front line than us. We just need to ramp up. I want to hear that crunch.
They practicing defense.
And first at 6, the search continues in one low country town after dozens of primates escaped from a research facility Wednesday. The Beaufort County Sheriff's Office says 43 rhesus macaque escaped from the Alpha Genesis facility in the Yenisei Wednesday afternoon. Police tell News 4 the primates were last seen towards the back of the facility, but they escaped. Their exact whereabouts are still unknown. Sedacia Smalls has been following this ongoing story and joins us live with the latest. Sid?
Yeah, Tessa, Katie, as of now, all 43 primates remain on the loose. However, town officials say they don't expect them to travel too far, and the primates are not considered aggressive.
Getting hungry, so maybe on the lookout for some food, but they're not violent in nature.
Cautious concerns in the town of Yenisei. It's been more than 24 hours since.
You want to hear something interesting? Because every time, Dr. Paul Cottrell, watches these things, some, weird idea pops in his head. George Bush Sr. was president 41. Bill Clinton was president 42. Who came after Bill Clinton? George Bush Jr., president 43. It was under president 43 when you started having a codified bioweapon program just before 9/11. And it was really supercharged after 9/11. Is that a coincidence? Is that a coincidence? Or is that a signal? Fuck.
From the Alpha Genesis Research Facility along Castle Hall Road, we're told the primates are relatively small, between 4 and 6 pounds, and we're told they are disease-free.
It was identified that an employee that's new to the company had inadvertently left one of the doors unsecured to the enclosure.
Since then, the ongoing search has included track and even thermal imaging. A team effort in the.
So the lady that was sitting in the chair in the first video was saying there was multiple doors. And then this guy is saying it's only one door. What's the story? We also have a story that's saying that the animals are non-pathogenic, but the CDC is telling you stay away from them so you don't contract anything. So are they non-pathogenic or are they pathogenic? Are they concerned that there's a bird flu with the pigeons that happens to come in contact with the monkeys, and so the monkeys end up getting the bird flu and then spreading it all over South Carolina? Chances are that is very remote. It's more probable that something is pathogenic in those fucking animals.
Operation continues between Yenisei Police, Beaufort County deputies, firefighters, state wildlife crews, along with employees of Alpha Genesis.
Very inquisitive in nature. They're small, they're skittish. And that's why I'm kind of emphasizing to people to, make sure your windows and doors are closed.
Anyone living nearby is asked to avoid contact and immediately call law enforcement if you spot the primates. Despite the escape and the chance to travel beyond the area, the rhesus macaque are expected to remain in a group and close to the facility they left. But interest about the strange escape has piqued interest from all over.
We've heard so far from international outlets and from all across this country as well.
UMass's town administrator Matthew Garn says the town has a great working relationship with Alpha Genesis and is looking for a good ending to the search.
I think that the care they get there is definitely stellar. I know they're not used to being out in the wild and where they are now, and so I know that if they're able to get back there, they'll be fed, they'll be warm.
Now we're told this isn't the first time primates have escaped from the Alpha Genesis. The last time was a few years ago, and the escapees were brought back safely in less than a day. Working for you, Sadeja Smalls, News 4.
Well, today is 11/8, and they were released on 11/6. So, they aren't coming home. All right, this is Fox.
Search is on in the
Carolina.
Low Country to find more than 40 monkeys who escaped from a testing lab in Beaufort County. The animals escaped from the Alpha Genesis
This
Primate
is what I
Research
don't. This, all
Center
right, let me
in
replay
Yancey.
that.
This is
Listen
about-
carefully what she's saying.
on in the Low Country to find more than 40 monkeys who escaped from a testing lab in Beaufort County. The animals escaped from the Alpha Genesis Primate Research Center in Yancey. This is about 2 hours away from Charleston and an hour outside of Savannah. This is previous video from outside that facility. Alpha Genesis is a research facility that houses the different types of apes. The sheriff's office says they set up traps around that area and are using thermal imaging cameras to try and find those animals. People in the region are being asked to keep all doors and windows
These are
closed.
monkeys, not apes. What? I mean, is it just that the reporters are just stupid? Or is it that there's something not right with, no one can say the right thing? It's convoluted story. They're monkeys, they're not apes.
Keep the animals from entering their homes. Many people, as you can imagine, are not happy about these monkeys getting out, especially if you have children. You can imagine. An animal welfare organization says they're filing a federal complaint accusing Alpha Genesis of carelessness and pointing out this isn't the first time this has happened.
Wow. Stop Animal Exploitation Now released a statement saying, in part, quote, the clear carelessness which allowed these 40 monkeys to escape endangered not only the safety of the animals, but also put the residents of South Carolina at risk. Alpha Genesis must be fully investigated and.
Okay. So that is animal welfare group speaking. All right. What public health risk is happening or potentially happening if these animals were supposed to be non-pathogenic? This is the reason why I'm doing this video, because I don't believe the story. I believe that they were released on purpose or on accident. I don't know. But if the CDC is saying stay away from the animals so you don't contract anything, that's telling me that they have something.
Prosecuted, the violations must be punished. Records show monkeys previously escaped as recently as just 2 years ago and also in 2016. Of course, we'll keep you updated on the
Okay,
search.
so we have 2 years ago, we have 2016, and we have 2016 was the shift of the gain of function. No. 2016 was when EcoHealth Alliance went public on C-SPAN about their research with Wuhan. All right, now that could be a coincidence, that could be just, just a coincidental data point. Just a couple of years ago, what that's 20, that's in that's 2022. Is that 2020? This is the point I'm making. These laboratories, something's not right. I can't believe that a newbie didn't lock multiple containment zones and these monkeys came out. I mean, they're not just contained in one one zone. There's multiple doors that this thing will have. It just doesn't make sense to me. All right.
Hey, real quick, if you sell coaching or courses online, you need this book.
And first at 6, the search continues
Let's
in
see.
one low country.
Let's take a look at all right, this is CBN. I think this is actually Canadian news. I want to see how they. This is ABS CBN news. I don't know if this is Canadian or US. Oh, they're just doing a flyover of the facility. It's a big facility, actually. For the ones that are watching, let me try to zoom this in here so you can see. It's a large facility. There's a lot of buildings. I don't know, maybe 20 acres. I don't know. It's hard to tell. 10 acres. Yeah, they have a lot of. It's a relatively large facility here with lots of buildings. For the ones on spaces, this is like a drone flyover of the facility. All right, let me see if I can find another video that tells the story here. This is WJCL News.
43 monkeys have escaped from a South Carolina medical lab. And the police chief in Yemassee says there is, quote, almost no danger to the public. We want to give you a picture of what these monkeys look like. They're called the rhesus macaque primates. And police say they escaped from the Alpha Genesis facility Wednesday after new employee did not fully shut an enclosure. WJCL 22 News' Jada Russell is in Yemassee with what we know.
I'm here at the Alpha Genesis Primate Research Center, where 43 primates are said to have escaped. Here's what we know so far. These monkeys have been on the loose since Wednesday afternoon, and as of this afternoon, none have been caught. Yemassee Police Department has been keeping the community up to date on the search via Facebook. As the story spreads, community members in Yemassee are thankful for the various updates.
We've lived here about 30 years, and from time to time, this is something that happens. Sometimes a large wind blows down a wall, and even out where we live, kind of off of Salkehatchie Road, we've seen them in the trees before, but it's been pretty rare.
It's unclear how these primates escaped, but residents are warned to lock their doors and their windows.
Let me get this straight. A wind blows and monkeys can escape from a research lab? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is the point I'm making. Mankind is playing around with things with not adequate safety systems. They're injecting animals or mutating animals or breeding animals in such a way where there's not enough safety precaution. They're creating pathogens through gain-of-function research and supercharging them. So people can write a paper and get notoriety in their, particular discipline, maybe, get funding from big pharma. This is crazy. This is crazy what's going on. And people need to wake up and go, well, wait a minute here. What's the probability of this mutation and this mutation and all these mutations to happen in nature for this super bug to happen? Could it happen? Yes, but the probability is so low naturally. All right, so why make it? Well, it might happen. Or is it that you want to make it for a bioweapon? People need to wake up. I have been saying this since 2020. Stop worrying about the treatments and the inoculations, even though they cause harm. The real root cause of this is the gain-of-function research at the laboratories, and they need to be shut down. When you get to the root cause, you won't have all these tertiary and secondary issues. like treatment and inoculation injury. It's really simple. Stop the gain of function research. But the problem is you had a huge community out there that was so focused on the inoculation, they didn't get to the root cause. The root cause is this weapons and bio research that's taking place without safety precautions. A wind blows and you have monkeys running around? Really? I mean, that's a resident in the area saying that it happens.
And do not engage. Marie says this has happened a few times before.
I think social media being what it is, the word went out pretty fast last evening that this was happening. I had friends from all over the state letting me know and asking me, is this a real thing? But it is a real thing. But they are, staying up to date with it.
The Yemassee Police Department has teamed up with local agencies like the Beaufort County Sheriff's Office to ensure the capture of all 43 primates. From Yemassee, Jada Russell, back to you.
Jada, thank you.
And let me tell you, what if they capture these animals, hopefully all of them. But the thing is what they're going to do. They can't sell them to a research lab because they've been out in the wild. So these animals are going to have to be euthanized because they escaped, and no laboratory is going to buy them to do their research because the research would be flawed because they weren't in a sterile environment. So they catch them and they'll kill them. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if they say, well, we caught, maybe 35 of them, and then the remainder are running around, playing chess in New York.
On the escaped primates online at WJCO.com and the WJCO 22 News app.
Wow. I'll tell you,
I
personally think that this story shows, in a nutshell, the problems that are happening at these different research facilities. Because they're a vendor to a research facility, all right? They raise the animals in a sterile environment and then sell them, or some of their products, serum products and tissue products, all right? Now, the question is, with the tissue products, are they non-pathogenic tissue products or are they pathogenic tissue products? Who knows? And were the monkeys messed around with in terms of, giving them something, someone broke in and gave these animals something and let them out, and they just want to make a story that it was a newbie that did this? I don't know what the real thing is, but there's an elevated risk. Now, if this happened weeks ago or weeks in the future, and it wasn't the day after the election, I may not be so worried. But it's the day after the election. And there is a push in the media about these dairy farmers contracting highly pathogenic H5N1 without even knowing it. Now, I'm not saying that H5N1 is related to this story. I'm just saying that at the metadata level, there are pathogenic issues that are starting to arise. Now, does that mean that disease X risk is elevated? Yes, because there's some unknowns here. Are those animals pathogenic or not? If they are they spreading something? The CDC says, don't get close to the animals, you might get something. Well, I thought they're non-pathogenic. Well, maybe they picked up H5N1, in the jungles of South Carolina. Chances are that probably didn't happen. But the point here is that I feel as though there's an elevated risk that is starting to emerge, because I know this sounds conspiratorial, but the deep state doesn't want Trump in. They do not want Trump in. And so this country is going to go through tumultuous times. I think in the end it will be positive and go forward and we'll have a better future. But the deep state is going to kick and scream and do nefarious things. So the risks of, for lack of a better term, the risks of disease X are higher today than they were on Monday. Now, that doesn't mean that it will remain elevated. Maybe they catch these animals and it's no big deal. But it's better to side on it's better to err on, on caution, right? And really question the narrative with these animals until proven otherwise. So I'm going to assume they're pathogenic. Why? Because the CDC says stay away from them. Prove me wrong. I want to be proven wrong. I don't like what's going on here. But that's what's going on here. That's all that there's really in the news. They're like 1 minute, 30-second clips, local news, type stuff. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the health supplements that I offer. You can take a look at the ebooks that I offer too. And please subscribe to my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. It's really important you subscribe to all of them because I get censored. All right. So please subscribe to all of them and watch my content. I cover stuff about the economy. I just told you how to play the S&P 500 and make some money. I try to tell you how to take charge of your own health and be proactive with your health and slow down the aging process. And I also go over, current events, what's going on, in domestic news or even international, and my perspective of what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on in Europe, and the potential war that's starting to boil with Taiwan and China. So please help support my work by going to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and please subscribe to my channels. You can also follow me on X. I have 2 channels on X. I have GETTR. You can also follow me on TikTok. All the links are in the description of this video and all my videos. Click those links, follow me. And the ones that have supported my work by donating, thank you very much. It's through your efforts on donating on my website through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee, or being a paid member to my Patreon channel that allows me to do these videos for free. I have thousands of videos for free telling you what the hell I think is going on in this world. Now, you may disagree with me. It's okay. But I think you're going to learn something if you really listen and pay attention. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day. And for the ones that are on Spaces, thank you for listening. I appreciate it.